game was capped off by a Mike Gesicki game-winning touchdown on none other than
the gritty guy.
The Gesicki gritty is its own, variation, but on none other than National Tight Ends Day. And when we're talking about National Tight Ends Day, the big tight ends came out and they balled. They really showed, I'm talking about the best tight ends in the game. Every one of them had impressive stat lines. And, it starts off with the guy at the top, the guy who I think is the best tight end of all time at this point, Travis Kelce, El Travador, putting up insane numbers against, we were talking about division games, guys who show up. Yeah, he shows up against the Chargers, or maybe he showed up for Taylor Swift. Maybe it was a combination of both. He went 12 for 179 and 1 touchdown. And I know we both have him in fantasy. And boy, he just even in the first half to cap it off with that, touchdown where he was even saying he was a bit uncomfortable and found a way. But I know there was a couple of other tight ends that also had great numbers. Sam, do you want to talk about what we saw on National Tight Ends Day?
Yeah, I mean, if you would have just done a tight end bet on over receiving for all the tight ends, you probably would be, raking it in this weekend. But Darren Waller, who had struggled the last couple of weeks, he went for 7 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Mark Andrews caught 2 touchdowns. One was a diving touchdown into the end zone. That was a really nice one. We already talked about Kelce. I mean, this guy seems to carve up the AFC West like nobody else's business. And you almost think, and I saw people talk about it after the fact, you would almost think that you'd rather be beaten by Marquez Valdes-Scantling 3-4 times down the field than just let Kelce. He was sometimes just sitting in the middle of the field, at the Chiefs' 50-yard line, waiting to catch the ball. And obviously, yes, the Taylor Swift factor is definitely played a factor in the sense that he's had a great game. The T Swift factor is live and real. She's doing a little handshake with He's having great games. Obviously, he wants to ball out that touchdown, though, the impressive touchdown that he got, a quick little screen, tight end screen at the 2-1 yard line, and he got pushed by his offensive line. He talked about how scary it was, and that was literally just his core holding it in, just trying to get the ball over the line of scrimmage. But then we saw on Monday night, Hockenson and George Kittle both had 78-plus yards. Dallas Goedert, who was slow for the first 5 weeks, is trying to awaken. And then you mentioned the Gesicki touchdown, the Gesicki gritty, to win it at the end of the game. There's something to be said about these really good tight ends, but on National Tight End Days, to see these guys actually ball out the way they did, and all the big guys to really have a big game, just shows you how important that position is in football, but also how it could be utilized. I mean, there's no Travis Kelce in the league. It's one, and then it's 1A, 1B is still Travis Kelce, and then Mark Andrews, and then we can make a list on another podcast. But they all stepped up. They all stepped up, and I think each of those guys are so critical to their team's success. And you take those guys out, and they really leave such a huge hole in it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it was just great to see. I think it's always enjoyable when you see tight ends go off, but on National Tight Ends Day of all weeks is just the icing on the cake.